Xcel Energy is facing at least 3 lawsuits as a result of the Marshall Fire. An investigation released last month found that Xcel likely started one of 2 fires that day that merged into a mega fire, the costliest in Colorado history. Our Marshall Zellinger got a hold of a recording where Xcel unsuccessfully tries to convince investigators it was not to blame.
Oh no.
Power line evidence, photographs from witnesses after smoke is visible, time-stamped surveillance images from the Marshall Mesa Trailhead gate camera.
That's correct.
That is how Paul Way determined Xcel was most likely to blame for the second ignition of the Marshall fire.
The photographs from the gate camera show exactly when the fire was ignited, and it's in the time when this line was jump roping.
Way helped produce the report that found Xcel most likely responsible for the second ignition. There are 3 power lines or conductors that go along Highway 93 near Highway 170. Way concluded that the easternmost conductor came loose from that round insulator. Then the lashing wire meant to hold it in place came in contact with the middle conductor, causing arcing and hot aluminum particles to fall onto the vegetation below, starting a fire.
As you saw in my report, there's a photograph of a power line with a big gouge in it. That is an arc gouge. And arcs produce hot particles. Hot particles are often capable of igniting susceptible fuel beds. And that's what led me to my conclusions on a more probable than not basis.
Xcel disagrees. Way's report references an October 2022 presentation by Xcel to investigators before a cause was determined. The presentation was Xcel explaining why its equipment did not ignite that second fire. We don't have the presentation, but we have a sheriff's deputy's body camera that recorded audio of that meeting.
I don't think we can tell you what we think did start the second fire, but we can tell you why we think Xcel's equipment did not.
Part of Xcel's explanation was that the arcing found on the center conductor was not from the day of the Marshall fire.
So there's references to potential arcing signs on the middle phase. We think that's an older event.
Xcel was then asked if it looked at historical data to determine when that older event happened.
No, and I think that's something we could look into, but I think that would be very difficult to do.
Did you find Xcel's presentation to be fully accurate?
No, I didn't. Like I said they hadn't found any evidence, I believe, of electrical arcing that could have ignited the fire, and of course, I believe that to be just false.
On top of the evidence Way described, he also said in his report that there is a way to prevent a fire from starting even if the lashing wire from one conductor touched another. Hand gesture time. There's something called a recloser. It's like a circuit breaker. So in your house, if you stick a fork in an outlet, you want that outlet to trip, not the entire house, and certainly not the entire neighborhood. The recloser acts in a similar way with the power lines. If it detects a fault, it can stop the flow of power in a small area. And the recloser tripped on and reset on the day of the Marshall fire. Way suggests that tweaking the settings to be more sensitive to faults, so even if one wire is hitting the other, it won't cause hot aluminum particles because the power had been shut off in that area. Do I get it right, Marshall, that part of Xcel's argument is almost like saying, well, the one fire was the mastermind and this other fire was just the accessory, like the accessory wasn't doing the real bad stuff, it was the other one that was leading the way? Right. In the recording, they contend they had nothing to do with that second fire, but that the damage was already being done in Superior and beyond by the time that second fire started. They've also made that claim in some court documents in one of the civil lawsuits against them. So it's almost like even if you try to blame us for this one, we're not responsible for the damage caused by the first one. Marshall Zellinger, thank you.